Hi, I'm delighted for this session to be joined by Vanessa Martin and Dr. Alan Miller, from the West Highland Museum. Today they're going to talk us through some of their digital developments through the pandemic year last year, with a special focus on their 100 Objects project. Vanessa and Alan, if you would like to introduce yourself and show us your slides, please.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot for the introduction. My name's Alan, as has been said, I'm from University of St Andrews, and we've been doing some work with the West Highlands Museum and heritage organisations in the Highlands and Islands.
My name is Vanessa Martin. I'm curator at the West Highland Museum in Fort William, and we've been going digital over the pandemic period and working in partnership again with the University of St Andrews.
Yes, thank you, Vanessa. It's been great fun working with and a privilege working with the West Highland Museum. It must have been a real shock to the system, not just in terms of what everybody experiences with respect to the pandemic, the uncertainty, the illness, and all of that things, but for a museum, it really cut off your life. And connection with audiences and stuff. It must have been pretty traumatic.
Yeah, it certainly did. I mean, we are a free independent museum in the Highlands, and we usually get about 60,000 visitors a year. That was our figures in 2019. So we rely on donations to keep the museum going. So it was a bit of a shock when we had to sort of close our doors. So two part-time members of staff continued, and we basically just tried to engage with audiences online. Because we don't really have much technical resource, we were offered the opportunity to meet with an XpoNorth consultant at the beginning of the pandemic, and we picked up some really useful information from that about projects we could do that wouldn't cost the museum a fortune, really focusing on social media. At the start of the pandemic, we had a Facebook page that had about 1.8 thousand followers, and that was about it, and a website that was there for visitor information, but not a lot else. So as a result of meeting with the XpoNorth consultant, we introduced a blog on WordPress, we introduced a podcast on Buzzsprout, and we also we had a redundant Twitter account which we revived, and the same with Instagram. And so we really started to make an effort to sort of post online and start engaging with audiences again. So we didn't really have a digital strategy at the start of the pandemic, but we sort of soon put that to rights with the help of XpoNorth. And then from that, the museum manager and I basically attended as many events as we could, and part of those were the Capido, is it, from the Open Virtual Worlds. So from that we sort of learned a massive amount from the seminars that you put on, Alan, and that's how we were introduced to yourself and were able to work in partnership. So I think the illustration there on screen is one of the events that we attended.
Yeah, there were and hopefully will be ongoing workshops aimed at helping heritage organisations work in the digital domain and create exhibits and connect with audiences, even when it's not possible to do so physically. And this is a slide I think that you sent me, Vanessa, and it shows some of the stuff that you've been doing on Facebook. I think you held a live event on Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook Live was something we learned through one of the seminars that you presented. We'd never experimented with that at all. So we took the opportunity for the commemorations of the St Valery, the evacuation of St Valery on the 12th of June. So we organised, although it was in full lockdown, we completely complied with sort of pandemic restrictions. So these are two brothers from just outside Spean Bridge, and we went to the Spean Bridge Commando Memorial, and we did a Facebook Live, which we pre-advertised it as an event on Facebook. And we've had really good engagement over that. There was lots of people watching it at the time. We also arranged for a local reporter to video the event for us. So again, we learned about how to set up a YouTube channel via your seminars. So we've set up a YouTube channel, and this video that was produced by a local photographer has been uploaded onto our YouTube channel now, along with sort of old footage from the museum's archive. And that's again something that we learnt through the Open Virtual World seminars. And in addition to that, we also learned about 360 photography, producing videos. So yeah, it's really invaluable resources.
One of the things you did, I think, was you made some maps and a sort of trail map using Google Maps.
Yeah, again, this was something we learned through the Open Virtual Worlds seminars that we attended. So we've done we're hoping to do a whole series of Loch Arbor trails on Google Maps. We've launched one on the Jacobites at the moment, which is the Jacobites in Loch Arbor. So different locations around the area that will sort of, and so that then there's information on there about how relevant that is to the Jacobite narrative. We're hoping to do a commando one soon as well. That was because Loch Arbor's commando country. The commandos trained here during the Second World War, so that's another one that's in the pipeline. So, but for us now, now we're preparing for the museum to reopen. It's a matter of having the resources to sort of put these things together. During lockdown, we had the opportunity really just to focus completely on digital while we were working from home.
It was great to work with XpoNorth and Nicola in hosting these digital heritage workshops, and also working with yourselves and other museums, Vanessa. And one of the things that kind of came out of that, I think, was we ended up doing this project with Interface and funded by the Scottish Funding Council on the 100 objects for the 100th anniversary.
Yeah, this was a tremendous opportunity. We'd been working since 2019. We've got our centenary coming up in 2022, and we were looking to launch a book highlighting the 100 best objects in our collection. So we'd started asking visitors back in 2019 to tell us what they thought were the highlights of our exhibitions. And so we're starting to get these objects photographed when the pandemic hit. And from the sort of seminars we attended and the webinars, the opportunity came up to put together a digital gallery, which is absolutely amazing, because it means that we're engaging with far more people than we would. We would never have had the resources to do this on our own, not just the financial resources, but the technical resources. So to work with Interface, who put us in touch with yourselves, it's just given us a great opportunity to work in partnership to produce this gallery, which is still an ongoing project, but we sort of officially launched it back in February, I think it was, with an event that we did.
Yes, there was a live event, and I have to say it was one of the most impressive live events the most impressive live event that I've been associated with. There were over 450 people that registered in advance for it from Facebook, and it was one of those events that kind of developed its own momentum. It was very difficult to finish it, wasn't it? It kind of went on. There were lots of people coming in and speaking and stuff like that, and that was great.
It was great. Because we had so many people contributing. There's Hugh Dan McLennan from BBC Scotland talking about the shinty stick and shinty ball that are in our collection. So he's BBC Scotland Sport. Paul Merton introduced the event for us very kindly. He'd been filming at the museum in September 2020, so we asked him to introduce it, and he also came and spoke about our secret portrait. And we had, obviously, via your St Andrews connections, a great number of sort of PhD students that came and talked about specific objects in the gallery, giving us far more insight into some of the things like coffin guards that we have in the gallery than we've seen before. Which is great. And we also had people like Joe Watson, who's a textile historian, Paul MacDonald, who's a weapons expert. So yeah, there's lots of different people coming to talk. Professor Hugh Cheap as well from the University of Highlands and Islands spoke about a few things. So that was it was a really fantastic event, and again something that we never would have considered doing in the past. I think in the past we've had a few sort of lectures at the museum where 30 people tops you could fit into the room, whereas like you say there were over 450 people attending live, and the outreach beyond that was great because the event was still there on Facebook for people to watch at their own leisure.
And the other output, or another output from this project, was making a web presence, a sort of online archive, galleries and maps, so that there's something always there. And I think that there's 8 galleries you decided on was to organise these objects into.
Yes, we have Victoriana, the Jacobites, Highland life. There's sort of archaeology section, a sports section. We've got an art section as well. So
I love the map myself, showing the provenance of all the objects around and where they came from. Now they all rest in Fort William with yourselves at the West Highland Museum, but where they've all originated their lives and the start of their stories.
Yeah, a great deal of our collection was from the Alexander Carmichael collection, and he was a folklorist and collector from the Victorian era who tended to collect from the Highlands and the islands. So that's where a lot of our objects have come from, the islands as well, that have ended up at the museum.
I see that there's a St Kilda mailboat I've kind of selected as being.
Yes, yeah, that's a fantastic object. So yeah, we really like that.
That's definitely
very unusual.
Yeah, and it's a good spread there. You can see obviously all the objects are actually held in Fort William, but the map is of where they originated from or where they were found, I think. Good. And it's a sort of interactive thing. And the other aspect, when you click on the map, you can get this gallery, which is connected up. It's IIIF, which is an acronym which stands for International Image Interoperability Framework, and it's a open source kind of gallery system which has been developed for museums, and it does, I think, enable you to show off the images well. We used it in the live event, and this is for the and you can see a list to the left of the different images and to the right of metadata that's associated with them. And this is a famous object as well. I think this was this your number 1 in the hit parade?
This is the secret portrait of Prince Charles Edward Stuart. You can see his reflection in the cylinder there. And it was very much when we asked visitors to vote, I mean, we knew it's one of the most popular things in our collection, but overwhelmingly it was sort of the thing that people like the most in the museum. It's been in the collection since 1928, and it was actually found in a junk shop in London by our founder, Victor Hodgson. And it's been in the museum since the very start. So yeah, it's a really intriguing piece. And this was the piece that Paul Merton came to film for his BBC Scotland programme, Lochs and Grand Tours of Scotland, back in September, and he spoke about this for us at the event in February.
I love that people were voting on them as well from their favourites, so that you did have that kind of a countdown, I guess. So
yeah,
and a reveal.
It was very low tech, considering we've gone from digital gallery when we were first aiming at the book, and we've got a coffin guard in the museum, and we were asking people to put post-its in the coffin guard telling us what they like best. So we've gone from post-its to a digital gallery. So.
I think we stole that idea from you, Nicola, or metamorphosized it a little bit with you were getting people engaged with heritage through getting people to vote for objects in a different project you were doing.
Yeah, through the Highland Objects project, that was the idea, to get people to vote, and it was a way to just, one, to encourage the museums to have a little bit of a friendly battle, as to sort of encourage them to promote their objects, and hopefully to get the audience to engage with it as well, and help to sort of put a little bit of excitement in it. I think in the digital world, it's finding that right balance of entertainment and educational content. because if you are being entertained as well, then you will probably learn at the same time. So it's a little bit of fun, keeps people kind of coming back and hopefully enjoying these events. So I hope they all come back to visit the website and sort of delve a bit deeper into your top 100 now.
Well, in fact, I was going to say the podcast for the Strange Plate, the object that's featured here on, well, was featured there on screen, that's actually in the Highland Objects Gallery, isn't it, Nicola?
Yeah, the Strange Plate and the Secret Portrait are both on the Highland Objects podcast. Certainly the Secret Portrait, I think, is still the most listened to. I haven't, since we've been doing the Highland Threads project, I haven't seen if a couple have sneaked past it. But yeah, they're both very popular podcasts.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's great how the projects are collaborating a little bit as well, because the Beetle Wing dress video now that's in the Highland Threads exhibition is now on our on this gallery website too. So
great. Well, that's I think a lot of these collective projects across the Highlands. It's about building those kind of collective assets, and then the museums can use them in different ways on different projects. So it's great to see that hopefully the podcast can be there with those, and the videos and the imagery that are part of that project too, which is fantastic. It gives this an ongoing life, and you can create more assets to add to it as well. It's not sort of a fait accompli. It's not done now. Those 100 objects, I'm sure you can add to it and keep it growing. So thank you very much for showing all of those. I'd like to, what we've spoken about there and you touched on in the middle of the presentation, was the amount of work that went into all of those to put on those digital events. They still require an awful lot of research and a lot of technical know-how and a lot of time as well. And as we move back into a more normal world, where you have a physical experience to kind of manage as well, what is your visions for the future? How do you see the two worlds, the physical and the digital, coming together, and sort of what are the challenges of that, I guess, around your own museum's capacity, as well as, I guess, the opportunities from it?
Well, I must admit, social media, we were posting once a day during the pandemic, but we basically just don't have time to do that now. So I'm posting as I have time. The 100 Objects Gallery, we are sort of going forward to a next stage now with that. We have the 100 objects there, but we are sort of improving some of the photography. We've got people writing blogs for us, recording things for us. We've got a poet called Ian Lom. We've got his stick in the walking stick in the gallery. So we've got people reading his poems in Gaelic, as well as English as well. So we've got lots of things going on, videos that are going to be done, 360 photography, 3D, sort of recreating objects in 3D that Alan could probably say more about. And we have got another event coming up on the 15th of July, which will focus on this object that's just here, the Strange Plate, because we've got big plans for this, for our centenary. It's a copper printing plate that came, it was commissioned by Bonnie Prince Charlie in 1746 on the eve of Culloden, but it was never used at the time. It was printed by us in 1928 when we acquired it, and we've just printed from it again for our centenary. So there's going to be a big auction coming up in August of Jacobite things at Lion and Turnbull in Edinburgh, and we're planning on auctioning one of the prints at that. So that's something to look out for, and we'll be talking about the objects in the gallery and that auction on our event on the 15th of July. So we are trying to do it. Alan's got plans for sort of getting the 100 objects more integrated into the museum. He can probably tell you more about that.
Yes. Well, I mean, so the idea is to be when you go around the museum, to be able to get interpretation onto your mobile phone about each of the objects, but also to have some touchscreen experience so that you can browse through the map and the stuff that's on screen. So it's sort of dual approach. So we hope that the digital content that we're making, as well as being available to people in people's homes, will also be available in the museum. And there's a sort of back end to the gallery system, which means that you can just fill in forms to upload media and to update metadata and so on. So it's very maintainable. I mean, the idea is to have it so that there's little need for the sort of technical intervention, so that it's something that can be managed from within the museums.
So it sounds to me like at the moment where you are is sort of re-evaluating that kind of strategy you spoke about at the start of the pandemic, and focusing on the things that have higher impact for yourselves, but can also be used in that physical experience. And I guess the essential need for that kind of additional support and capacity that Alan provides, and through the University of St Andrews team, will hopefully help the West Highland Museums to keep being digital and bring the digital and the physical together a bit more into the future.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, it is something that, you know, it's for us, it's time resources, and not just financial resources, but also technical. You know, we need that support. So working in partnership with St Andrews has been absolutely amazing. So
great. Well, thank you both very much. Thank you for your time today, and good luck as everything starts to open up again.
Thank you.
thanks, Nicola.
Thanks, Nicola. Thanks, Vanessa.